Podcast City Network. Hey guys, this is Chris, and we are back for another exciting episode of Final Score here on Facebook Live. I'm Chris, and I am here with Craig, and we got a pretty crazy show in store. And please don't mind our camera; it's been acting up all day. Gosh, I really can't wait till we get a new one.
Yeah, it's in the pipeline. You know, we're trying to make improvements on the show, but glad you could join us on Facebook Live and, you know, share it with your friends, comment down below, let us know what your thoughts are on the latest that we're going to be talking about in sports today.
Yeah, so much going on, but make sure that you can keep up on all things Final Score. You have to follow us on social media, otherwise you're just flat out not going to see it. So to do so, all you have to do is go on to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and look for PCN Final Score. I'm all over the place today. This camera's got me all kinds of crazy.
It is at PCN Final Score.
PCN Final Score. So you look for us, give us a like, give us a follow, share us with your friends, and more importantly, give us a rating. Let us know how we're doing, and don't mind all the craziness we do because, you know, it's all for the love of sports, right?
Right, and don't forget, we're on a numerous amount of content platforms. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Podcasts. It's not Google Play Music anymore.
No, it's all Google Podcasts.
Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts.
That's right. Everybody's getting about the podcast now.
Yeah, just search keyword Final Score, one word, and you can find all those platforms throughout the show at the bottom of the screen. And share with your friends. Let us know. And like I said, give us a rating on those so that way we know how we're doing.
Absolutely. And of course, we always like to thank and give a nice shout out to our parent network, Podcast City Network, which you can find on social media and at their website at podcastcity.net. So many great things that Podcast City Network is doing and involved in. A lot of great things coming up.
Yeah, and a cool announcement that we're going to have on the show coming up a little bit later as related to Podcast City Network.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, but man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. So let's hit it from the top. First things first, the NFL and NFL Players Association collective bargaining agreement. The negotiations are ongoing, and a lot of crazy things have been happening. We've even had some recent news. I don't even think it's even actually hit our outline yet because things are just ever so fluid in this entire situation.
It's always interesting once you get the CBA and you get the owners and the Players Association kind of trying to negotiate the labor deals for the next X amount of years, which they're still using the same negotiations they made in 2011. So it's been quite a while since they've renegotiated. And the shocking thing about this, not really shocking, but the big story here is that the ownership wants to add an extra game to every season, and then you're looking at expanded playoffs. They're going to take one game away from the preseason, add it as a regular season game, and then expand the playoffs, which that one, I think we can touch on that by itself in a second. But adding that 17th game is really intriguing to me because all of these player salaries are based on 16 games.
They are.
And for some of those players that have those big contracts, once this takes effect, if their contract goes into the new CBA, they're basically going to be playing Game 17 for free.
Yeah. And another thing you got to look at as well is the fact that with a lot of these contracts, a lot of them are incentive driven. And now you're talking about adding another game. It's going to make it a little bit easier. And now put these owners in a position, you're going to have to pony up more money if they're able to more easily hit these metrics. So at that point, do things like that have to get adjusted as well?
I don't think that's a big issue because, you're getting an extra game, but think about
You're talking about quarterbacks throwing 400 and 500 yards a game these days.
Yeah, but we're talking about injuries. I'm talking about the grueling season, the grueling NFL season and the toll that puts on players' bodies. They're already barely healthy enough for the playoffs as it is. You're talking about adding another game, putting these guys' bodies on the line. They're going to start asking for more money, more guaranteed money. That's where the owners are really going to have to pony up. The incentives, who cares? Incentives are always going to be a factor.
Well, definitely, but I feel like
they're a minor factor. The guaranteed money is the problem that the owners are having with contracts right now.
And we've already had our first fully guaranteed contract happen but a few seasons ago. So now with that becoming a more prevalent issue, especially given how NBA and Major League Baseball works, a lot of these players are really trying to push for that guaranteed money. So that definitely could become a huge pitfall in this entire scenario.
It could, and I think with the owners, they're obviously looking at Zeke Elliott or Todd Gurley. Those guys, both are two of the biggest running back contracts in the last couple of years, and that really they've both had really down years, whether it be injury or just lack of production. So those owners are going to come back and go, well, this is why we don't give guaranteed contracts. And the players are going to go, okay, but you want us to play more games for you? And you want us to make you more money and you not give us more of the pie? And I think that's really where you're starting to see the heads kind of clash together here.
Right.
Is the 17-game schedule is, I think, a real sticking point for a lot of players.
And I definitely could see why, honestly, because, that injury factor does come into play, and then the money as well, especially with current contracts. So it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses forward. But the problem we're going to run into is that there was already a massive 3-hour conference call on Friday with the Players Association between them and 32 team player representatives to discuss the proposal. And before they even had that call, though, a union executive council voted not to endorse this CBA before it even reached players. And now players have pushed this off. So I don't even know if this CBA is even going to come to fruition this season. But what's going to happen if they don't?
Nothing yet. But with this CBA, I think it expires after this season. Mm-hmm. So if you run into the season without having a CBA decided upon, I have no doubt in my mind that if they don't come to a conclusion by the start of the season, we're going to have a strike next year.
Ooh, very well could happen, because I know they still have 1 year left on the 2011 CBA they signed. So
which would be this coming season.
Yes, which would be this coming season. So that gives them just a 1 year window to get this figured out, or we might end up with another strike in the NFL.
Well, and I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, you don't even have all the owners were on board with this.
Right.
It passed, but it wasn't unanimous.
Definitely was not.
So now it was not unanimous. That means, that tells me that some of the owners realize that, hey, players aren't going to go for this. We're still at way opposite ends here. Mm-hmm. There could be a strike. And from a player's perspective, I'm okay with that. Yeah. I would be okay with that, because that's going to tell you, if you want to make an impact with these owners and with Roger Goodell, you got to take money out of their pockets. That's how all this works. Mm-hmm. That's why baseball has had numerous strikes and why they're probably staring down the barrel of another one soon.
Way to go, Manfred.
Yeah, and I've gone on a tirade.
We'll touch on that stuff
I've gone
more.
on a tirade on Twitter all about him, but I think that's where you're going to run into this, is if we see it being not voted on, or at least shot down by the Players Association, they'll still have time to do it. But if it's by the beginning of the season, we don't have a negotiation, I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to see a strike.
Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this plays out, but definitely make sure that you check back with us, because I'm sure we're going to have more news on this come next week's episode 49. So definitely make sure you stick with all things Final Score. It's going to be interesting, but there's something else very interesting we have to touch on right now.
You don't want to talk about the playoffs? The expanding of the playoffs?
We could talk about the expanding of the playoffs.
I mean, I don't know about you. I love it.
But if they don't ratify the CBA, it doesn't matter. It's going to be out the window.
Right. I would love the opportunity to have an extra playoff team, so that way you're, not having 10-win teams getting shunned when 9-win teams that win their division get in, or a 7-9. Remember, we had a few years 7-9.
That's true.
A few years
That's
ago.
true. And I think you're still going to see possibly some more scenarios, I think, with that honestly adding another position, because you still could have the scenario where going to have a decent team on the outside looking in. So expect, where you have scenarios like this year with the NFC, to an extent, was kind of top heavy. But even when you got down the line outside of, the NFC East, everything was pretty strong in the NFC East this year, or in the NFC as a whole this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could have the Rams make it, who were a 9-10 win team. Mm-hmm. They missed out in the playoffs. There's a number of things that could happen, but it makes that number one seed all the more coveted.
Well, yeah, you only get one team with a bye.
Exactly. You're only getting the one team with a bye instead of the top two, which I think is kind of weird. But
yeah, but it makes it to where I think it'll force teams to play harder, which might also be why they're trying to shoot the CBA down, because it could end up coming all the way down to week 17, that whether you have your, certain things tied up where you might not be quite winning your division, but say, hey, if I'm able to just squeeze out this one more, now we're in playoffs. Or if you're in a position where you're the number 2, if I squeeze out this win, we can't sit back because we don't have the guaranteed bye now. Now you're pushing and trying to get that number 1 spot. And that's, like we said earlier, opens up to injuries, opens up to issues. So honestly, I don't even know if any of this is going to end up being pushed or ratified. This is going to get interesting. We might end up having to go back to the drawing board. But you know who's going to benefit from all this?
Who's that?
The XFL.
XFL, you think so?
I think they'll benefit, because now, showing that they have the numbers, they have the players outside of kind of the quarterback position, but that's a whole nother story.
That's kind of what drives your league, but whatever.
Yeah, but they still are able to have exciting football based upon just the rule sets alone. Look how much safer and exciting kickoffs are right now, where you aren't going to be able to just beam a guy going full speed. You actually got to try and catch up to him. He's going to work some angles. You might actually eventually see a little bit more development with the kickoff, where you might see more kick return touchdowns.
Potentially.
So, things like that with the extra point system and everything they've been able to do. They might actually be able to start muscling their way into the CBA possibly, and, Vince McMahon throwing around a little more money and maybe become the farm league of the NFL.
I think the NFL wants to see more out of the XFL. Like a couple weeks of being decently solid. Like some attendance numbers have already dropped, but sustain it over the year. By the next CBA, if they only do the CBA for a couple of years, I could see in year 3 they could ratify it to add the XFL.
I could see them looking at it as soon as after this first season, just because
that's really aggressive. I like it. It's really aggressive, but I don't think so.
The thing is, though, Vince has more money than some of these owners in the NFL. So taking that into consideration, they know financially this league's already going to be stretched at least for 3 years. And the thing you got to look at, if you are trying to push for an extra game and you are trying to put wear and tear on players,
I don't think that's been in writing. I don't think that's been in writing that he said it's in for 3 years. He verbally said he's got money.
He's expecting the financial windfall of upwards of $350 million for the next 3 years of the XFL's life.
He said that.
Yes.
That's not in writing.
Does not matter.
Yes, it does, because he can see.
Money's there.
What happens if at the end of the first year the XFL it slowly loses its I wouldn't say credibility, it loses its interest. By the end of the first year, if you've got barely anyone showing up and no one's tuning in, maybe Vince pulls the plug on it and this is really isn't working.
But after 3 weeks, you've already seen attendance numbers go up. Yes, TV ratings have slightly gone down.
That's the opposite. They've been going down.
I've been seeing otherwise, sir. I think we're going to save this for another show. This is too much. We're getting off track. We're getting off track.
We like to go down rabbit holes, but
don't mind
back to what we were talking about. Just a couple of the other things on the CBA, which I think these ones the players would agree to, but it's the games that they're really not on board with. Increasing the minimum salary and expanded benefits for current retired players. That's been something that the CBA or the NFLPA has been fighting for over the last couple of years. Reduce penalties for testing positive for THC. Josh Gordon's all about that.
Yes, he is.
I'm pretty sure that Josh Gordon should probably just go to the XFL at this point because they don't drug test.
No, they
they do for steroids.
Well, they do, but they don't care about pot.
They don't care about weed. But the NFL apparently punishes you more for weed than you do about beating. Never mind. And the last thing is the drug testing period before the season reduced from 4 months to 2 weeks.
Yes.
So those are little things. I'm sure that the Players Association loves that. Owners are really looking at the expanded playoffs and 17-game season.
Of course. And we'll definitely see how a lot of this trades off. I think some of this might still end up making it in. Obviously, they still want a lot of those benefits extended for a lot of retired players, especially given a lot of the CTE issues that we've had over the past few years that have been ever developing. Yeah. So I know that's definitely going to be a big one. And like we said with the THC and trying to make a more sensible substance abuse policy makes more sense. But we'll definitely see how it shakes out. I'm interested to see if they're going to get anything done, though, before the season starts now.
Yeah, I don't think they will. If this hasn't been, they could just say, yeah, let's do it. But I don't see this coming. I don't see this getting resolved right away. It might take a few more months. Maybe by the time training camp rolls around, they have something figured out. But I don't think it's going to happen right now.
No, I don't think it will either, and it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But we'll definitely keep you up to date here on Final Score, so definitely make sure just to check back with us, and we'll definitely update you on that news whenever it actually happens. But there's something else exciting we got to talk about.
This is a new segment that you wanted to throw in, and I'm all for it.
Because it totally needs to be done, because we are now going to be having
a limited time segment.
Yes, a limited time segment, which I have to refresh our camera for this because it is time for Brady Watch.
Tom Brady Watch.
Tom Brady Watch.
Goat Watch.
Ooh, I like that.
Goat Watch 2020.
Goat Watch 2020.
Who cares about politics in the caucuses? Goat Watch 2020.
That's right.
Hashtag it. We're making it a thing.
That's right. And you know what? It's going to kick off officially March 18th once Tom Brady's contract actually expires and he will become a free agent for the very first time in his illustrious career. And it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of teams right now that are in the running. They actually have Vegas odds on who has the best chance of being able to sign Tom Brady to a contract, which is currently led in a tie between the Las Vegas Raiders and the LA Chargers at plus 300. So it's going to be interesting, followed by the Titans at plus 700, the Colts at plus 900, and the Panthers at plus 1200. Didn't really even consider the Panthers as part of this equation, but it just goes to show how many teams are taking it seriously that Tom Brady's going to be available for your services, and he's going to come in and play quarterback possibly for you.
I think it's really funny that the Carolina Panthers are on this list.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So there's a lot of talk because, of course, Phillip Rivers is also a big name out there for quarterback. I've heard a lot of rumors that he's tied to, obviously, the Bucs, but I hear more rumors about the Colts.
Yeah, I've been hearing that one as well.
So it's interesting that I see the Colts and the Panthers on this list. But, of course, what fun is this segment if we're not going to talk about my boy, Brady, Michigan man? And I really want to hear from you. Your top 3 teams, because we see the Vegas odds, and you already listed them.
Yeah, I got them all right here. We got them lined up. It's gonna be good. So
Raiders,
at number 3,
Chargers. Yeah, who do you got at 3?
So at
Third
3,
likely.
my number 3 overall for Tom Brady and the services of the one and only TB12. Oh man, I'm so exciting. Is the Indianapolis Colts? I think the Indianapolis Colts, given the weapons they have, the type of franchise they run, look what they did for Peyton Manning for years, would be willing to bring in Tom Brady at this golden point of the moonlighting of his career to try and maybe squeeze out one championship, at least one championship, and see what they can pull off, try to give him whatever they can around him. I think they could possibly do it. So I got the Colts at 3.
The Colts is an interesting choice. I'm going to take the Raiders at 3 for the third most likely of where Brady will land, just because of the fact that you've got Vegas, you're working with John Gruden, but there's no weapons for this team. And looking at this other list, there's no way in hell he's going to the Panthers. There's nothing there. And the Colts, I don't see the Colts. They're set up decently well, but I don't see him going there just because it's not his type of offense. It kind of is, but not really. They're not really set up. But I think the Raiders might be a bit of more of a draw for him because it's in warm weather. The wife would like it. You know, it's a brand new team. It's the black. It's the silver and black. It's the new black hole. He could really be well received by the Raiders. So that would be my number 3.
That's very interesting because my number 2 is also the Las Vegas Raiders. I think all the same reasons that you have said, and given the fact that the Raiders have pretty much come out at this point and said that, hey, we're open to trading Derek Carr. We don't have, this illustrious love for him that we wouldn't give him up, especially if you're going to bring in TB12 to establish a new culture in Las Vegas, a state that's never had an NFL team before. And you're going to try and create like you said, a new black hole for Raider Nation in Las Vegas. And what better way than Tom Brady at the helm in the silver and black? That sounds absolutely, and I see ticket sales already just skyrocketing by me saying these sentences right now.
I think they would. I mean, you got see what they're building there. I mean, they're building on some more things, but I think that would be a less likely reason because they're further away than the Colts are.
That's true.
But I don't know, which goes into my number 2, a team that I think is very set up for them to bring on Tom Brady and have success. That's the LA Chargers. Now, this is going to be very dependent on if they bring back Melvin Gordon or not.
Yes.
Because you got guys like Derwin James who are coming off of injury. You've got a decent amount of talent on that team. Got a decent receiver core. If they don't bring back Hunter Henry, that could also be an issue. He loves his tight ends. So if they don't have those weapons around him, this could very well fall off my list. Because I really only think there's one team on this list that he will even close to go to if it's not the Patriots again. So the Chargers have a little bit of holes, but they got to figure out the rest of their weapons. Are you going to bring back Henry? Are you going to bring back Melvin Gordon? And is Derwin James and company on that defense going to be healthy enough to be able to make a run?
Well, here's the big thing you got to look at, because my number 1 is the LA Chargers, because of the simple fact that you worry about bringing those people back. If you sign Tom Brady, they're going to come back. Who doesn't want to work with the GOAT? Melvin Gordon, no. Melvin Gordon would definitely benefit after seeing what running backs are able to do. Sure, you might want to talk about that.
He wants the cheddar, man.
Sure, he wants the cheddar. But if you want to win a championship, which deep down he wants to, you're going to sign at least for a couple of years to be able to try and win something with Tom Brady.
I can see that.
Because even if you were to say get a little bit more than you were, but a little bit less than you want, in exchange for a championship with the illustrious Tom Brady, help him bring record Super Bowl number 7 to a quarterback, and maybe even number 8. Who knows? And the thing is, you got to think, Tom Brady wins another Super Bowl, he's going to be only the second starting quarterback to win Super Bowls with 2 different teams, following Peyton Manning. So why
and that's pretty
not?
Good company.
And that's really good
for your company.
Really good company. And you got to look at the fact that they still do have a good wide receiver core there. Even if Melvin Gordon were to leave, with the rate that running backs are starting to come out now, especially in college, there's a lot of great running back prospects that they would be able to pick up someone to be able to replace Melvin Gordon if necessary, because you're going to end up putting this offense to a certain extent around Tom Brady. So I think the LA Chargers make it the most likely. And then, of course, like you said, I'm sure Giselle would love to live in LA.
Oh, I know she would. And I know that was the front-running team for a lot of people right away. And just to point out, like, Vinny T commenting, appreciate it. He commented, how mad do you guys think Bill is now that he was forced to trade off Jimmy G? Probably kicking himself, but he said he's a Niners fan, so I know you're happy that you got Jimmy G there now. But my number one team, and I'm curious to see how you're going to react to this. My number one team on this list is a team that I think is set up in the best position to put Tom Brady back into the Super Bowl and back to win another ring. Okay. This team's got solid defense. They've got offensive weapons. They like to run the football. And they've got a coach that he is very good friends with and has a great relationship with.
Okay.
The Tennessee Titans. If you're betting on this, Tennessee Titans are plus 700. Take it to the bank. And then, holla at your boy when you win money.
There's the only issues I see with this.
Tennessee, how? I'd love to hear it because Derrick Henry, he has to get paid. I get it.
Okay, well, not even
He's got to get paid. But you got Corey Davis, A.J. Brown.
All that aside, the big thing I see here, it's not with the franchise. For the franchise, that's a home run. The business end of this, honestly, I could see Tom Brady stepping in as a starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans and winning a Super Bowl. Absolutely could see that. And with Vrabel as head coach, even though he was the defensive side, they were yin and yang. Vrabel on defense, Tom Brady on offense. That was the Patriot way in Dynasty 1. But the thing I see, player backlash. Derrick Henry's already been vocal about the fact of the prospect of Tennessee just throwing Ryan Tannehill to the side after what he did for this team and the kind of resurgence he had after taking over for Marcus Mariota. So there's already a certain amount of not only respect, but devotion and loyalty that these players have to Ryan Tannehill. And I feel like that could really affect your locker room. Some obviously would get over that, but some would not.
So I will put it to you this way. Let's say, for instance,
you can't have Tom Brady come in glinting rings. Okay.
Let's translate this to the NBA for a second. You've got a young team in, let's say, the LA Lakers that had a young team that was developing a nice core, and that you could start to see them build. You've got the opportunity to bring in LeBron James. You mean to tell me that you're not going to let LeBron James walk through your door and automatically put you in the finals? That's what Brady will do to the Titans, is he will walk in that door, and then Derrick Henry and them are going to bitch and complain about it for a couple weeks. Then they're going to see his work ethic. They're going to see how hard he works, and they're going to start seeing W's, and then they're going to make the playoffs, and then make the AFC title game, make the Super Bowl. That chatter gets a little quiet when you make a Super Bowl.
I'm not gonna lie.
If you win a ring, I guarantee you Derrick Henry will shut up and take his money because he's about to get paid. But I guarantee you that if they bring in Brady and they start winning, all that chatter goes away.
But that also kind of, you have to bring into question with that type of an approach, is Tennessee worried about winning now or being able to win often going into the future? Because obviously if you bring in Tom Brady, you're only going to have him for a couple of years probably.
Look at the Raptors in the NBA. Again, I'm using the NBA. They sold their soul to get Kawhi knowing he's going to leave. But guess what? No one's going to forget him. No one's going to forget the fact that they have a ring now, and a Masai Ujiri is now a god in Toronto. If you bring in Brady in Tennessee and you win a Super Bowl this next year, no one's going to give two shits that he retires next year because they got their ring, and that's what matters. Winning matters. And Brady's going to go off in the sunset as the greatest quarterback of all time, winning Super Bowls on 2 different teams and doing it when he's plus 40 and doing it on a team in his first year. If he does all that, Tennessee will not care.
The sense you make.
And Tennessee Titans fans won't even care because they're going to
have a Super Bowl.
I tell you what, if Tennessee makes the Super Bowl, we got to go up there if they win and celebrate because Nash Vegas as it's called.
Nash Vegas
is going to be on fire.
Oh my goodness. The sense you make, sir.
It's difficult.
You're making all the senses right now.
That's what I do.
And it's crazy because, I could see it working that way. But we'll definitely see how a lot of this plays out. But absolutely nothing is going to happen until March 18th when his contract officially expires. And definitely, I don't think it will take long. I'm sure it'll be within days, if not even sooner, that he'll probably have a contract already hammered out.
I think he'll take some time.
You think?
I think he'll take some time because there's the tampering period.
Well, of course,
and
they are lessening that too in the new CBA.
Right, and I think they will. He'll take some time because he's going to meet with the Patriots. He's going to meet with other teams, and I think he will consult with his wife and family and decide what's the best for him. Now he wants to win, so. That eliminates, you got 5 teams on this list. That already eliminates 4 of them or 3 of them. Eliminates the Raiders, eliminates the Colts, eliminates the Panthers, potentially eliminates the Chargers. You got the Titans left. Whew. I think it's either Patriots or Titans. That's it.
Oof.
That's the only 2 options I could think.
All the senses you make. I can't even believe it. But we'll definitely see how a lot of this plays out. Definitely make sure that you check back regularly for Tom Brady Watch as we watch where TB12 will land come March 18th, which is only a mere, 3 weeks away or so at this point, a little over. So we'll definitely have some news in between now and then and some things we can speculate about. I'm sure things will be said. Things will happen. We'll see what happens. But either way, though, it is happening a lot of.
You like the word happen.
Happen. Because I like things to happen.
I see that.
Like the XFL. Look at that nice segue.
XFL, we are already halfway through week 3.
Yes.
And we had a couple games yesterday. Our own Tampa Bay Vipers have their first home game against the surging Houston Roughnecks. Hey,
I'm going to go cry now.
On a positive note, the Vipers, they actually scored their first offensive touchdown.
Yeah, we did.
In the second quarter. It only took, 2.5 games. It's cool. Whatever.
And then left Quentin Flowers on the sideline the rest of the second half.
But you know what? I think this is more so how good Houston is versus how bad Tampa is playing.
Yeah, but I feel like if you take your best option at quarterback and leave him on the sideline, you're not really making full use of your roster, which means you're not really trying to win at this point, which is probably why we're 0-3.
I mean, Mark Trestman kind of has a track record for doing this kind of stuff. Look at his time in Chicago.
God, he's such a nice guy, though.
He is. He's a great guy.
He is a great guy.
He's not. Right now, he's not. Right now, he's struggling to make the right decisions.
He's doing something.
But I mean, this team. It's funny how they touted over the week on social media that they have the best defense statistically. They have the best rush defense, best pass defense, and then they go and turn around and get lit up by Houston. And PJ Walker, who I think is already the early season XFL MVP, 300 yards in the air. He averaged 8.5 yards a pass, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 120 QB rating. This dude right here he's the epitome of the must-watch version of the XFL. Like, he is the reason people are tuning in.
The thing is, though, the XFL as a whole is that I feel like there's a lot of deficiencies when it comes to certain player positions. And the big thing everybody's been screaming about is the quarterback position. Outside of P.J. Walker and
Cardell Jones
at the D.C. Defenders are the only ones who've been able to put up any type of sensibility when it comes to being a quarterback. Everybody else has kind of went down in flames. Even Aaron Murray, our beautiful, awesome, amazing Georgia Bulldog Aaron Murray with all his SEC records.
Well, he's hurt. He's injured.
He is injured again. And but even when he's not, his play is just
he did not look good in the week 1 against the Guardians.
With all the turnovers he had and just ill-advised throws, throwing into double coverage, it was just bad by him. And I feel that given the type of wide receiver core we have, especially with the addition now of Antonio Callaway, has made such a difference or should have made such a difference for him to be able to get the ball to basically anyone he wanted, anywhere he wanted. But it has not come to any type of fruition, and the only quarterback who's been able to do anything for us when we're leaving on the sideline. So,
and I think that's something that Trestman's going to have to figure out over the next couple weeks. He's going to have to realize that
Johnny Manziel's coming to town. Sorry.
He's going to have to realize that, look, Taylor Cornelius is very inconsistent. I mean, he was only 16 of 31, only threw for 52%. Mm-hmm. He's not getting the ball downfield. He only had 6 yards per attempt. He had a touchdown and a pick, but his thing throughout college and why he's not on an NFL team is because of his inconsistency. But you've got a guy in a dual threat in Quentin Flowers that, he only went 4 of 6. He wasn't on the field for a whole lot, but he is an impact player in the pass and in the run. Mm-hmm. I mean, he averaged almost 5 yards a carry as a runner on the ground. And that right there, you need for a team that desperately needs to score offensive touchdowns to stay relevant in their own city
in any kind of way.
And to help this league stay relevant, you need to put up points. And to their credit, they did start putting up some points in the second quarter, tied 18-18 at half. But then the defense just kind of let Walker take over, and they could not answer. They could not answer at the clip that Houston was putting up. But when you got June Jones and PJ Walker put together, those two guys, this team right now, I think, based on the first couple weeks, they are my odds-on favorite to win the championship.
Yeah, I'd have to say at this point with Houston, everything they've been doing, it's been absolutely amazing. I think we're going to end up looking at down the barrel of a Houston DC championship with how both teams are playing. Both are playing absolutely amazing. Being able to make use of the new rule set, especially for the DC defenders, being able to utilize the double pass now multiple times to amazing turnout. So it's been great to see what the XFL has been able to do, what these teams have been able to do. But yeah, the early odds that they had going into the season have all been blown away. The Vipers were the favorite going into the season to possibly win the championship, and they're sitting here tied as the worst team in the league. So it's interesting just to see how a lot of this play out, but we'll see how a lot more of it will play out because we have more games coming up, don't we?
Yeah, we had the Dallas Renegades traveled to Seattle. They won 24-12. Dallas improves to 2-1. Seattle falls to 1-2. Dallas is another team that was kind of an early favorite. So I think those two teams, Dallas and Houston in the West, are going to probably be the teams to watch moving forward in the next couple weeks. But today, we got a couple of games. We got one at 3 o'clock. The Guardians and the Battlehawks.
Battlehawks helmet. I'll never get over that helmet.
I was like, I said it months ago when they revealed the jerseys and all that and the logos. Battlehawks favorite. They're my favorite kit. The helmet, the logo, just how they have the colors set up. I love it. It's awesome. But the Guardians 1-1 traveling to St. Louis, who's also 1-1. That's gonna be on ESPN at 3 p.m. And then the Defenders, who are 1-1, travel to LA to face the 0-2 Wildcats. That's at 6 p.m. on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, definitely going to be great games. So definitely make sure you check them out, and we'll definitely bring you the results later in the week once we see how these actually come to end. It's going to be a great game, and I think those St. Louis kits are so good. I can't get off them. Anyways, there was some also great stuff that happened last night that we got to talk about. Definitely some interesting things. If you do not watch boxing, I do not know what is wrong with you, because we had what is probably arguably the best fight we've had or should have had in 50 years. Just the billing that it had. This is going to be like Ali Frazier. That was just so great. And we're talking about none other than Wilder versus Fury 2.
To be fair, I don't watch boxing.
I
watch this fight, but I don't watch boxing. Boxing is boring to me. Boxing is boring to me, but the big fights, like watching two undefeated guys that went to a draw, controversial draw in the first fight. These two guys, you knew what you were going to get. And it was really funny that the press conference they gave earlier this week, leading into the fight, doing the weigh-ins and all that. But it kind of seemed like we were talking about this, the WWE does their contract signing where they do a lot of posturing and all that kind of stuff. That's what that seemed like to me, is that Fury took a page out of the Triple H's book. And
I mean, look what he was just doing not too long ago. He was involved with WWE and part of their great pay-per-views and all this stuff. So it's funny, though, you notice that UFC and now boxing are both taking pages out of WWE's book to try and bring more interest to their sport.
Because they know it freaking works.
Yeah.
Like, literally, if you integrate the showmanship into the athletic ability of your sport, of a combat sport. I mean, to an extent, you can even argue that wrestling, like WWE style wrestling, is a combat sport because it's fake. They pull punches and all that. Everyone knows that. But the athletic ability that's required to be able to do these things in the ring.
We don't use the word fake, sir.
I'm sorry. Fabricated.
Staged is more
Staged.
appropriate.
Oh, my bad. The result is already known. There you go. But that's why these sports are getting more intertwined with the WWE because of the showmanship they have surrounding their events, their pay-per-views. But with this boxing fight, I thought it was really interesting that while this was a heavily billed matchup as one of the biggest heavyweight bouts of our generation, it really wasn't much of a fight.
No, it felt honestly amazingly short because I actually got to watch some of this thanks to actually a great friend of the show, Dave Maynard. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Shout out to Dave Maynard.
Yeah, that guy. Great guy out there. But it was great to watch this because all the build and the flashy entrances that kind of reminded me of WWE.
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania, yes. Perfect.
They were literally on par with WrestleMania entrances.
Absolutely. I have to agree. And it was funny to see all that happen and then go out there and Wilder, who I honestly picked to win this fight. I thought speed was going to end up overcoming how large Fury was and how heavy Fury was and how much slower he would be. Didn't see any of that. Fury went out there and started just pummeling on Wilder and got to the point, though, some people might call it questionable, where it seemed like maybe Fury got some shots to the back of the head on Wilder, and that might have affected how some of this fight went. But honestly, with what Fury was able to do, even in the early on and how the fight progressed, there was no stopping Fury. He was a man on a mission, and he got the mission done. You know
what you can't argue is controversial about this fight? The fact that Tyson Fury dominated total punches. 82-34.
Huge margin.
Dominated this fight. And if you look at round by round, I've got the cards here, and looking at total punches landed and thrown, I mean, it was pretty skewed.
It really
as
was.
Far as the landed punches, it was pretty skewed, but it went a little back and forth. The power punches is really what you got to look at. Power punches landed by Fury, rounds 5, 6, and 7, 40%, 34%, and 54.5%.
Insane.
He landed 16 of 40 power punches in round 5.
And that's huge. That's huge. Man, it's great to see how that Fury, honestly, I felt, especially like watching, did you see any like the pre-fight warm-ups or anything like that?
I didn't watch too much of the other fights, no.
There was no
I saw him
warm-up by
dancing,
Fury.
though.
That's all he was doing. You see Wilder down there stretching and, getting all warmed up, and you see Fury just out there dancing, just wearing like pants and a shirt, just being like whatever. I hated it, but it was like, after seeing what Fury did, it's like,
but here's the thing.
Man, go get that loose for a fight, man. You might not ever lose.
Here's the thing, though. With that, everybody approaches a fight or a sport or hell, even a meeting differently. You got to get in your mindset. For Wilder, it was, all right, let me kind of keep to myself and get super focused.
Yeah.
Fury is literally, he's out there having fun.
He is.
And that was part of his thing, is like, he's a showman. And the thing that I thought was really kind of detrimental to Wilder was the fact that Fury jacked up to 270. Now you think that might slow him down, but look at how fast he's been over the last few fights. Look at how fast he was in this fight last night. Him getting up to 270 and still being that quick and that fast and throwing those punches at the clip that he was, freaking scary. If anybody else in the heavyweight division, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to take him down at this point, because his he improved to 30-0-1 with 21 KOs. But I mean, these Fury, just the way that he looked, throughout this fight at 270, I don't think anyone's going to be able to take him down.
I don't think they're going to be able to, and it's been absolutely amazing to see what he's done. And I'm interested to see who's going to fight him next, because I feel like he is a one-man wrecking crew right now.
I forget the name, but it's been all over. It's been out on Twitter of the next potential matchup for Tyson Fury. So I think it'll be really interesting. I think if he continues to have the showmanship that he's had, Tyson Fury, I think you could start seeing a little bit more of an uptick in the interest in boxing for a while. But then, boxing just kind of does that. It goes up and then it goes way down, because most people are interested in MMA and UFC now.
Yeah, it's more of a total, realistic top fighting
instead of
style.
just standing there and like throwing punches.
Other,
but but I mean that's part of the thing, and what made this fight so great was the build-up and the showmanship involved with it. And I mean, when you get a guy who dominated the way Tyson Fury did, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he ends his next fight, because this one, it's like that a game in like football. You got a game circled on your calendar.
Oh yeah,
and then the next game's a letdown because you spent all your energy on the previous game.
That is true, but usually they take 6 months or so in between these fights. So I think he might have some time.
I think he's gonna take time to probably celebrate a little bit. You know what I mean?
Do some more of that dancing he was doing.
He's gonna celebrate, and I would not be surprised to see him. I don't know, at WrestleMania.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what else is gonna be awesome to celebrate?
What's that?
None other than the Podcast City Network 2-year anniversary show. It's going to be an amazing time. If you have not heard of this event, man, you're living under a rock. Get out from under there. It's not safe. But March 7th, 2020, which is just a mere 2 weeks away.
2 weeks out.
2 weeks out. We're going to be at City Limits Tap Room at 2620 North Woodland Boulevard in D-Land, Florida. And it's going to be an amazing time. We're going to have Seven Kingdoms there, along with Thicket and Rendered Abstract, that are going to be playing live starting at 8:30. Doors will be at $8, $10 cover charge. We, on the other hand, we will be there covering it. We're going to interview all the bands. We're going to bring back draft day. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be going live starting at 5, and we're going to be live between 5 and 8 o'clock to bring you all these interviews live on air on the Podcast City Network official Facebook page. And we're going to have draft day, which is always an amazing time. So that means also Derek the Beer Guy is going to be there.
Yeah, Derek the Beer Guy coming back.
That's right, bringing him back. If you guys remember him from our Super Bowl show. And it's going to be a great show. Definitely make sure you come out. 2620 North Woodland Boulevard in beautiful D-Land, Florida. Here's the flyer right here. It's going to be a great, great time. Brought to you by Podcast City Network, CCE Presents, and of course, City Limits Tap Room. So definitely make sure you check it out, as we will be going live. It's going to be live on location. I love doing these shows.
I know you're going to be really excited, because your alter ego is going to be there.
Yes, Chris Carnage is confirmed going to be there conducting the interviews that will be live at facebook.com/Podcast City Network. So it's going to be great. I know that guy's going to get wild.
Yeah, and I know you're close with some of the members of Seven Kingdoms. So I'm not too familiar with all that kind of music. That's not really my realm, but I know from what you've told me and kind of talking with some of the people there is it's going to be a great show. The fact that they come back, like these guys are touring all over the place.
I hope you know Britney Spears isn't quite as popular as she used to be. I know you're really into that kind of stuff, but it's okay.
Who?
You're killing me.
No, but I mean, these guys, this group, they're all touring. They are on a worldwide tour, right?
Oh no, they did an international tour
recently.
Not too long ago. I know they've toured Europe multiple times. They've toured Canada, North America a bunch of times. These guys definitely been around the block. Very big in power metal. So definitely make sure you check them out. Seven Kingdoms, really great band.
So yeah, if you like the heavy power metal stuff, that's going to be the show for you.
That's right. They'll power metalize your ass. Hey, that's their slogan, not mine. Sorry. I just have a shirt that says
it's a good slogan.
It is.
It's a good one.
It is.
I like it.
But definitely going to be a great event. So definitely make sure that you come out and check it out. We're going to have a wonderful time. And definitely come check us out. I'm sure we're going to be probably doing a prize giveaway at some point or some other kind of crazy stuff. Who knows? We'll see what happens. We had a great time last time. We gave away a bottle of Jack Daniels last time we were down there.
That is true. We did have a bottle of Jack Daniels giveaway for the Super Bowl party. That was pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Had some other prizes to give away as well. And 2 weeks. It's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, definitely going to be awesome. But at this point, though, instead of looking forward, now we got to take a look back at this week in sports history.
Topping off sports history, we got February 22nd, 1959, the inaugural Daytona 500. Lee Petty and John Beauchamp.
Beauchamp.
Thank you. Not much of a race guy, so I don't know.
It's all right. I got you covered.
Johnny Beauchamp crossed the finish line side by side. Beauchamp was declared the unofficial winner. The ruling was overturned after 3 days by NASCAR founder Bill France Sr.
Yep. And
Controversy in the first ever Daytona 500.
A lot of controversy. But on the same date in 1980, we had none other than the miracle on ice when the U.S. hockey team was able to beat the heavily favored Soviet Union team 4-3 at Lake Placid, one of the biggest upsets in Olympic history. And the Americans went on to win the gold medal against Finland 4-2.
That was the biggest hurdle they had to get over because, the Soviet Union, especially that time, you're talking about the Cold War in the midst of that.
Oh, yeah.
And Soviets, like to continuously.
Vodka.
They like to cheat, but it's different.
It's because they're drinking vodka.
February 25th, 1964, Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, TKO's Sonny Liston in 7 rounds for his first World Heavyweight Championship title.
History. Love it. Also, some more history. February 27th, 1987, the NCAA cancels SMU's, at Southern Methodist University's, entire 1987 football schedule for gross violations of NCAA rules regarding athletic corruption.
Now known as the death penalty.
Yes.
And the last one on February 29th, 1976, NASCAR driver Richard Petty wins the only Winston Cup race on Leap Day, taking the Carolina 500 at Rockingham by 2 laps over Darrell Waltrip.
Oh, yeah. Crazy times in racing. The only Leap Day race. Good stuff. Don't mind me. Sorry, my Southern just showed a little.
I see that.
But we're going to go ahead and hit ourselves with the good old give or go.
I guess I'll toss the first one up to you here. Ex-Browns left tackle Greg Robinson, also former Jacksonville Jaguar, was arrested and faces drug charges. Give or go.
We're only going to give on this briefly just because of the utter stupidity surrounding the situation. Now, if you don't know anything about the situation, Greg Robinson was pulled over in Texas with 2 other people and was detained by DEA federal agents after they found 157 pounds of marijuana in a rented vehicle, which all of them were riding in. He is currently being held without bond pending an initial appearance before a U.S. magistrate judge. If convicted, Greg Robinson could face upwards of 20 years in federal prison. Now, what blows my mind about this is that Robinson went from being a 2nd overall pick in the 2014 draft to the Rams. And, of course, he moved around Jacksonville and now with the Browns for the past 2 seasons. And I'm all for, guys, living their lives, the best they can, legally, of course. But to hold 157 pounds of pot in your car as you're traveling across Texas doesn't seem like a good idea. So, dunce cap of the day goes to you, bro, because you're probably gonna be spending some time in the slammer, man.
So we just had a question come in from Josh here watching the stream. First of all, thank you, Josh. Appreciate you joining in.
Yes, Josh, my favorite.
We're talking about NASCAR. He wants to know who you think will win the NASCAR race today. It's in Vegas.
Yes, they are in Las Vegas, and it's going to be real tough. It's going to be a great race. The Busch brothers are notoriously good on that track, so definitely something to keep in mind. Ryan Newman will be out this week. Definitely our hats off to Ryan Newman, though. Just got to say real quick, had a horrific crash at the end of the Daytona 500. Was able to walk away 42 hours later out of Halifax Medical Facility. So great to see him up, but he will be out of this race. So he is someone that you automatically have to eliminate. But I'm going to go deep. I'm going to go deep on this one. I'm going to say deep? I think it's going to be Kyle Busch. I guess that's not that deep, is it?
You're going Kyle Busch.
But I think Kyle Busch is going to end up winning today's race.
Well, Kyle Busch is the favorite right now at 9-2. But I honestly don't know a bunch about NASCAR. I haven't really watched a whole lot lately, but I do know somebody like Brad Keselowski will make an impact. And you're looking at all these guys, Kyle Busch, Hamlin, Harvick, Truex Jr., Keselowski, and Logano were all multi-time winners last year on tracks that were most impacted by the aerodynamics package that NASCAR implemented.
Right.
So those guys have all won on tracks multiple times with this new package, and this is one of those tracks at Vegas Speedway. So I'm going to go with Keselowski here.
Ooh.
I'm going to take Keselowski. He's a 6-1 odds right now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take him as a slight underdog.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to comment on this later on our social media, so definitely make sure that you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at PCN Final Score. Give us a like, give us a follow, and we'll see if any of our picks are right today. Check back later today.
And Josh just mentioned that Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champ.
Yep, 7-time champ. Him and his family, they're big Jimmy Johnson people. So it's all good. But back to Give or Go. Going to throw this next one at you. Former Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant was seen in video catching passes from none other than Super Bowl MVP quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Give or go.
Man, I mean, it's encouraging if you're a Dez Bryant or Cowboys fan to see him out there catching passes. But he hasn't played since 2017 when he had 69 receptions, 800 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. I'm a little surprised that teams aren't lining up to at least try to bring him on for a short part of the season. But having that huge injury he had when he joined the Saints, I think really derailed, and given his age, and it's encouraging to see him out there playing pitch and catch with Pat Mahomes. But I'm really surprised, like I said, that he could be a red zone threat for a team that's making a playoff run. So I wouldn't be surprised to have a team at least bring him in later part of the year. So I don't know. I don't put too much stock into this. It's very encouraging because I do want to see him healthy. I mean, you don't ever want to see guys be able to bounce back. He'd be a great story also.
A big question, though, I got to throw out there because I saw somebody pose this the other day was, do you think Dez Bryant could have benefited more if he had actually tried to go through maybe playing with the XFL? Being able not just to go play pitch and catch, but actually showcase himself and show that, hey, injury aside, I can still ball.
It's an ego thing. It's an ego thing for guys that the guys that have been in the NFL, they don't want to take that step back because they've had success at the NFL level. And I think for Dez Bryant also, it's a financial thing.
Oh, that's true.
Like, and we know that
a lifestyle to keep.
Yeah, the XFL is capped. It's capped at what you can make based on the tier of how they rate you and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I could see him playing in the XFL and being successful. However, I don't know if he'll be willing to take that step.
Right.
Because he's in his mid-30s now. Wide receivers usually lose a step by that case. He probably wouldn't be playing for too many more years. I don't know. I don't see him ever playing in the XFL. I could see somebody like Josh Gordon doing it just because of the whole weed situation, because the NFL just won't let that go.
Unless we get that CBA ratified real quick. Get Josh Gordon back in it.
Right. But I don't put too much stock into this. I'm glad to see him out there and prepping again for an NFL season. So hopefully that works out for him.
Yeah, we'll see.
Last one, I'm going to toss it up to you. Johnny Money Manziel says in a Twitter post that he has an interest in playing in the XFL, but then deletes his account. Give or go.
All right, I'm only going to give on this briefly just because it is Johnny Football and he was his own enigma while at Texas A&M, and then obviously has had so many issues since he came out of college and played for the Browns, and obviously that fizzled. Tried to play in the CFL, that fizzled. Played in the AAF, that fizzled after 2 games. So
well, that wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault.
And
that
he actually
time.
played. I thought he played pretty well when he was in the AAF.
And that's what I found interesting is that since how he did play when he got into the AAF, that the XFL might be a realistic option, but he had turned it and shot it down numerous times until now. And it's interesting, not only does he make this post that says, quote, "If you want to boost your ratings to another level, just send me the contract tomorrow and we're in there." Like I said years ago, XFL 2020, give the people what they want, end quote. But then turns around and deletes his Twitter account. So I don't know what we're going to see out of this. I feel it's actually very indicative that Johnny Football is still Johnny Football, and that this might not be a good look for the XFL, but the XFL is a Vince McMahon product, and they might not care that much. So it could be interesting to see how this all plays out.
XFL should want to bring Manziel, but the problem, you need the star power, you need the success at quarterback to help make this league be sustainable. But from Johnny Manziel's perspective, he shot down that contract because I guarantee you in the back of his mind was going, AAF did the same thing. What if they go under too? So he turned it down. But now that he sees that it could be sustainable, now he's like, okay, now I want it. It's like the person
Vince he trusts.
It's like the person that you ask to, like, hey, go in on this business with me, come in and be successful, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't trust you. I'm not going to do it. But then they see that you're starting to be successful, and they're like, hey, yeah, you remember we talked about this? I'm like, now, you know what? No thanks. Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, right.
That's the situation that Manziel put himself in. Now, I honestly don't think he plays football ever again, especially after that AAF fiasco. Not that it was his fault, but the way he turned down the XFL and now is trying to turn around and say like, oh yeah, I said I wanted to play here years ago, even though you clearly said you don't want to play for the XFL.
The only reason I think he's even doing it at this point, though, is because he sees XFL needs quarterbacks. And they need quarterbacks with character. They need quarterbacks that can actually play good. And they need quarterbacks that can be sustainable. He is that guy. We've already seen quarterbacks that are supposed to be great get injured. We've seen quarterbacks that are supposed to be at least halfway decent play like garbage. And now you, like we said earlier, you only have 2 quarterbacks, really 3 if you want to include Quentin Flowers, we're pulling for you, that can actually play decently on a consistent basis. Johnny Manziel could end up being another quarterback that could do that.
Matt McGloin looked okay until he badmouthed his coach at halftime and got benched.
Woo! Yeah, don't
Yikes.
do that.
Yeah, that's not going to be good for your career. But, I mean, there's a few other guys, but you're looking at some of the starting quarterbacks in the XFL. Brandon Silvers played in the AAF. Wasn't successful there, but they had a winning team. So that, I mean, you got that there. What's the guy's name? Dallas. Landry Jones.
Landry Jones.
Wasn't really a successful backup at Pittsburgh. So, that's whatever. But some of the other quarterbacks around the league are not really good quarterbacks, which is why you're seeing these struggles at that position. Now, Manziel, I think he already burned his bridge, so I don't think he's ever going to play in the XFL.
I don't know. Vince McMahon is the kind of guy that even after you literally spit in his days...
Time out. Stop this. Vince McMahon does not call the shots.
But guess who?
Oliver Luck calls the shots.
That's awesome. But guess who signs the checks? Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
He's already said that he's not going to be hands in like he was the first time around.
Yet he has been already, because we don't see him at WWE events. He literally has been missing Raws and pay-per-views and SmackDowns because he's at XFL.
No.
Yes.
No, he stepped away. He has stepped away from the WWE for the last couple of years, except for little appearances here and there, because he's trying to have a succession plan.
That's on air. The thing is when you still run a product, you're still going to be there to support that product, especially when you have the $700 million plus value WWE that, hey, guess what? You have 3 live shows running every single week, plus your pay-per-views that run 12 to 14 times a year. So that's something that you are invested in, that you're going to take care of, that you are no longer there as much as you used to be. Even with him pulling out, he still was at events at least 80% of the time. Now it's less than 50%. And that's a big sign.
Dude's getting older. He wants other investments. He wants to be involved in other things.
And then you kick out both your co-presidents and run it yourself now? That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. Nothing is adding up because Vince McMahon, he
kicked out both of his co-presidents at WWE.
Yes, at WWE.
Yes.
But that's my point, and he's still not there as much.
Because he's going to turn it all over to his kids anyway.
The kids can't run it. They just got to turn it over to Triple H. He'll be okay.
That's what I'm saying. Triple H is included in that. Triple H is now the new Vince McMahon, okay?
And he only got it because he slept with his daughter. But
yeah, but still. But so, okay, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree here.
We're going to have to agree to disagree because we got to get back on track.
Because there is no way, that Vince McMahon, he's even said it himself, that he's not going to be involved in the operations on the football field with the XFL. He's leaving it in the hands of people he can trust, Oliver Luck.
But you know what,
Oliver Luck has already come out and said that certain guys are not going to play in the XFL because they have high standards. Vince McMahon,
you can have those high standards, but if it's someone that can put butts in seats and sell tickets, Vince is going to be like, get that guy because I signed your check.
I don't think,
and that's what happens in a lot of these type of scenarios, especially if you have a guy, especially with the quandary XFL has at quarterback, and the fact that you have a guy who has expressed any kind of interest now, who has played at an NFL level, who is a recognizable name, and whether you want to believe it or not, guess what? I think he's still Johnny Football, and he's going to bring you some type of attention because, hey, they say any press is good press.
If Johnny Manziel makes and plays in the XFL, I don't think it will be because of Vince McMahon.
I could see that.
I don't think it'll be because of... Now, if you want to see a real Vince McMahon move, go get Greg Hardy and bring him in here.
Whoa. That would be a Vince McMahon move.
That's a Vince McMahon move.
Oh, my gosh. Right? That would be...
All right, I'm done. I'm done on that. We got to wrap up this show.
Just make sure he doesn't use the inhaler on the sideline. Anyways, we're going to move on to the week ahead.
I would say don't put his girlfriend on the sideline. Whoa. But then, that's just... Is it too soon? Was that too soon? Was that too soon?
Not soon enough. Anyway,
Facebook's going to ban us.
We're going to get banned. All right, let's get back to the week ahead. We do have XFL Week 3. Of course, we do have the 2 games that happened yesterday, but we do have 2 more games today between none other than the New York Guardians, who are traveling to St. Louis to take on the Battlehawks, and the DC Defenders traveling out to L.A. to take on the Wildcats. First game on ESPN at 3. Second game FS1, 6 p.m. Both times Eastern. Definitely going to be great, but there's something amazing happening today.
Yeah, starting this week, we got the NFL Combine. It's going to be all week. It's going to be at Lucas Oil Stadium, as it always is, in Indianapolis, Indiana. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for us to be able to watch it every week. We're going to probably do a little reporting on it for next show.
Oh, absolutely. And hopefully see, all this Tua Tagovailoa talk just die. Because I'm sorry, he's not as good as everybody's saying he is.
I don't see Tua actually playing in position drills.
He's probably not going to run.
I see him running the 40.
I don't know if he'll even run the 40 if it's going to be too much upsetting for his hips.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know.
I know he'll be involved in the interviews.
Which he has not. Yeah, he's definitely going to be involved in the interviews, but he has not announced whatsoever what he will and will not be involved in yet.
He's probably going to go the route that a lot of other guys go, which is guys that are projected in the top half of the first round. Mm-hmm. He's not going to participate in any drills in the combine, and he's probably just going to do the interviews and go and wait for his pro day.
Yeah, because pro day he'll be a lot more in better shape where they're hoping and be able to make all the throws and all that kind of stuff.
It's more so they're in an environment that he's comfortable with people that he's comfortable with.
Also true.
And put him in positions that are not the combine. If you're familiar,
I'm trying not
with
to make
NFL,
it look so sketch. Yeah. Okay.
If you're part of the NFL combine, they put you in specific drills with people that you've never played with before, with coaches that are coaching you certain ways that you're not comfortable with,
and that you might not have ever even played under in any kind of way.
Yeah. So your pro day is the opposite. You're under all your own college coaches. You got all your own guys catching balls from you or helping you run position drills.
It's a comfortable environment.
It's a very comfort environment. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting, but definitely to make sure that you keep up on all things Final Score, especially when we bring the NFL the NFL Combine, XFL Week 3 results, and all this other craziness that we cover. It's definitely going to be interesting. So definitely make sure you follow Final Score on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PCN Final Score. And I think we have one more thing on the week ahead.
Yeah, we got to talk about this week. I mean, the Lightning finally had their streak broken on Thursday night on the road. They've lost 2 straight, but they're back at home starting on Tuesday. Home against the Maple Leafs, then Thursday home against the Chicago Blackhawks, then Saturday home against the Calgary Flames. So they got a few games here they can get back on track. Chicago's been struggling. Maple Leafs have been okay, and the Flames have also been decent this year.
Oh yes, definitely going to be interesting. But sadly, we are at the end of our show. Thank you for joining us for episode 48 of Final Score here live on Facebook Live. And join us next week when we bring you another edition, episode 49. Man, we're getting closer to 50. This is getting scary.
Closer and closer.
So definitely make sure that you join us. And also check us out on our myriad of different content platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course Google Podcast. Go on there and search for Final Score, one word. Give us a like, give us a follow, and check out all the great content that we have. But until next week, I am Chris, that's Craig, and you just watched Final Score. Have yourselves a great day. Podcast City Network.